So with the Tokyo Games well underway, local scientists have been investigating the natural benefits of Rooibos on physical performance. Exercise trials point to Rooibos being an effective sports tonic with the added benefit of boosting athletic endurance. Let's get the latest on these studies now. Bring in Professor Simeon Davies. He's the head of the sports management at the Cape Town Peninsula University of Technology. Prof, great to have you on the program. Thanks very much indeed for making time. You say Rooibos is by and large an underappreciated beverage. What do you mean by that?
Yes, thank you for having me on your program this morning. We've just conducted our second clinical trial looking at whether or not Rooibos has a beneficial effect during exercise and also during recovery. And in the first trial, it was an upper body trial to exhaustion, and in the second trial, we used one of those static exercise bikes that you'd find in a gymnasium or where people exercise. And we found very similar trends again. And so we are quite excited about the results the team have generated. That's around the lead researcher, Mr. Kamati, and the supervisors, Professor Marnwick, who is chair of biotechnology at CPUT.
Yeah, I mean, we'll speak about the implications for that in just a moment. First, I'm told that Rooibos is now the first food in Africa to receive approval for registration under the status of international protection from the EU. What does that mean?
Well, it's to protect the brand, I guess, at a commercial level, and that allows the Rooibos product or the Rooibos tea or whatever form it is marketed in or sold in is protected, and the benefits come back to South Africa rather than to other countries who might be copying or mimicking or taking the product out of the country and trying to beneficiate it for their own purpose.
Okay. Perhaps no surprises considering what might be increased value of Rooibos. I mean, your studies suggest that it could help people be better athletes, essentially. What are the implications from then on?
Well, one of the reasons we became involved in the study is not only for the sterling work that the biotechnology department have been doing for 20 years in oxidative stress and antioxidants, particularly like Rooibos. So a couple of years ago, we started looking at whether or not Rooibos could have other benefits other than sort of modulating cardiovascular risk, which has been shown in previous clinical trials. And we thought there could be some extension in terms of could Rooibos assist during exercise. And we've been quite surprised by the findings. And given that Rooibos is caffeine-free and it's very low in tannins, and it is a natural plant in South Africa, particularly in the Cederberg Mountains in the Western Cape region, we felt that there was a potential here to look at it more seriously. And I have to say, one of the very interesting things is that the unique bioactive compounds in Rooibos appear to have a very, very effective and good benefit to athletes post-exercise in terms of muscle damage, inflammatory markers and those sorts of things.
Yeah. My understanding is that the studies involved 40 athletes or so. Suggests to me that there might be a need for even more data to be collected. Take us through some of the questions you're still asking yourself.
Well, the interesting thing is the study initially was a master's study with the student, Mr. Kamati, leading the research. And what we found is that the results have been so interesting that Northwest University want to, if you like, collaborate with us in further analysis, because what's becoming apparent is there is obviously genetic variability between people, and what we're finding is that some people respond much better to Rooibos than others. And I think we're finding this in medicine as well. Mm. So it's really like trying to match the best sort of, if you like, genetic characteristics of an individual and see which people are would most benefit from perhaps using Rooibos, as you say, as potentially as a sports tonic.
Sure. If we do get there, do you envision a future where athletes might have to, I don't know, be tested for Rooibos?
No, I don't see that. And interesting enough, I was in a webinar a couple of days ago with the South African Institute for Drugs-Free Sport. And one of the wonderful things about Rooibos is that, in essence, the kind of antioxidants which you're ingesting are quite natural that you'd find in fruits and other sorts of foodstuffs, except they tend to be unique compounds like aspartame. And so we don't foresee any issues around that, and that's why we feel that it could be a particularly useful, if you like, drink for athletes should they wish to use it.
Sure. I imagine, if there are benefits for athletes, the benefits might have obviously existed before the study. I wonder whether there's any interest in trying to find out what the other health benefits for actually consuming Rooibos through your life might actually be. Do you reckon there's now an appetite to even be asking those type of academic questions?
Absolutely, and I have to say that the South African Rooibos Council have been very, very supportive in a number of studies looking at related health benefits of Rooibos and its application. And so as time goes on and we can do more and more quality research, and we're really fortunate in the Western Cape to have CPUT and other institutions that can support such study. The trouble, as you pointed out earlier, with the study of only 40 people is the more numbers you have in your study, the greater the power of the statistics that you generate. But they are very, very expensive to mount these clinical trials, and they're very controlled, and they have to go through many bioethics clearance processes so that the participants are safe. But at the same time, we want to get as much information as possible to see to what extent and how Rooibos may benefit athletes.
Yeah. Again, there's nothing conclusive as yet, but I can't seem to think of any, call it, adverse risk of already recommending that some athletes perhaps think about Rooibos differently. Is that the kind of advice you'd give your athletes?
Well, yes, from the results we've been getting and the trends, I think when you look at all the other health drinks, and one has to remember that there are extremely large corporate entities backing the kind of stuff that you might purchase at the supermarket. And Rooibos has to sort of muscle its way in, if you like, into a very competitive market. And I really feel that it could become an alternative, and I would suggest perhaps even better, sports drink for athletes. Obviously, what we have to also work out is the polyphenol content for an effective dose before training, and to that extent, we've got some good numbers now. So I think there's great potential for Rooibos, not just being a tea, if you like, and being used as creams and many other things, but actually being looked at seriously as a sports drink.
Yeah, I mean, you speak of an effective dose. I don't imagine it's as simple as just making a cup of Rooibos for an athlete to have optimal performance. I mean, what do we know about, I guess, the levels at which you need to be ingesting something like Rooibos for it to actually matter as an athlete?
Well, we look very carefully at what we call gastric emptying, the time it takes for the bioactive compounds to get into the body and to become effective, if you like. And so those timelines we've worked out pretty well, and we're also quite happy with the polyphenol content, which is about 340 milligrams per 375 milliliters of fluid. So we're quite happy there. Obviously, like in any drink, if you don't like it, you're not going to drink it. So, yeah. I think the palatability of the sports drink, if you like, needs to be looked at, and that's way beyond my scope as a person in academia. But I'm sure there are commercial people out there working in that sphere who can guide us very well.
Fascinating nonetheless. Thanks very much indeed for your insight. Really do appreciate your time this morning. Professor Simeon Davies is the head of sports management at CPUT. We'd love to have you back once you're on the other side of the study. In the interim, I'll be keeping a close eye on the price of Rooibos. Once again, Professor Davies, thanks very much indeed for your time.